Protection Agency's hearing into the new salmon farms, and it was recognised then that we needed to improve the information of the resources that we manage. There was concern at the time about the discharge from the new pinfish farms that were under consideration. So with Ministry for Primary Industry Assistance, Council entered into a contract with NIWA to construct this model. Now, models are useful tools for simulating what's happening out there in the environment. They're not perfect representations, and I don't think they ever will be, because a number of assumptions are made. But what the model attempts to do is look at how the hydrodynamic properties, depth, the currents, the tide, the temperature, how that varies over seasons and different places. And then what's happening with the water quality as well, and then the response of things like phytoplankton and zooplankton. I'm going to use a few terms today. I'll just hand you out a little document, just a little one-pager, just to visualise what I'm talking about. And I'll show a screenshot of those shortly for the rest of the audience. So this model was delivered to us in early February, and we had a workshop on the 1st of April with industry, members of council, members of the community, and Sounds Advisory Group, as well as some iwi, and there was some good feedback. It's subsequently been revised. It was exposed, an earlier version was exposed to a recent hearing, and this version that I'm now presenting to you is the final version, which has taken account of that feedback. So why have a model? Well, as I said earlier, models are really good representations of reality. They help you understand and identify ecosystem processes and how they change over time and space. Things like climatic oscillations, El Nino, La Nina affect the Pelorus Sound. They also help us to understand long-term ecological change, and that's really important because we can fall into the trap of seeing what's here now is the way it's always been. It allows us to test and simulate the effects of aquaculture as well as land inputs, such as through the Pelorus River. And that's important if we're considering expansion or retraction of aquaculture. Allows us also to get at the thorny issue of what's an appropriate carrying capacity in different parts of Pelorus Sound. And it also is useful for informing development of policies and consents. And also allows us to stimulate what happens if you did replace those mussel beds that Rob talked about earlier in his presentation. So a little bit of terminology before I hook into it. As councillors, you'll see there's just a couple of images there for you to put in your mind what we're talking about when we're talking about phytoplankton, which is basically the basis of the food chain in the ocean and provides a lot of the oxygen that we breathe. The zooplankton are, if you like, the grazers, the wildebeest in miniature of the sea, and they come in a range of shapes and sizes and forms, from everything from protozoa right up to fish larvae, crab larvae, and such things as jellyfish. Baseline, I just want to touch on that because baseline's an often misunderstood term, and some people think it means this is the baseline is the ultimate state that you want to achieve. It's your desired state. In this study, it's actually selected for convenience because we have aerial photos from 2012 and allows us then to map the actual extent of the mussel lines in the fish farms. And it allows us to measure change to that date, be it positive or negative or neutral. Denitrification, just a quick overview, it's just about how nitrogen is exchanged with the atmosphere and removed or recycled into the water column or out back into the atmosphere. Biophysical is just another way of saying what happens when you look at biological indicators, chemical indicators, and physical things such as temperature and salinity. Right, crack into it. There you go. There you are again there, Rosie, 2 photos. Rosie's one of our monitoring team, and the reason I refer to Rosie and the rest of the team is I've collected a lot of this data that have underpinned some of the findings in this model, so it's been really important, a great investment by council over the last few years.
A fishing rod, in
Yeah, that's the fish trapping device. So the model was run over on a supercomputer. It took 17 days to run a single simulation, so that gives you some idea of the computational complexity that's involved in constructing such a model as this. It was run on what's called a 200-metre grid, so they simulated everything in the water column over a space of 200 metres, and they linked them all together. And what they found is pretty much what you know, in terms of the hydrodynamics, what we kind of know, but I'll just explain it. And the reason I'll go into a little bit of detail is then I can contextualise the biological model for you. So that top diagram is of current speed, and you see that scale there is a logarithmic scale, so red is 100 times faster than blue. So through Cook Strait, at the top right there, things are moving pretty fast as you would expect. As they enter to the entrance of the sound, you see the greater current speeds are in the main channels, which is kind of what you expect when you're forcing a lot of water through narrow areas. In the side bays, it's Tennyson Inlet, Lydia Bay, Beatrix Bay, Kenepuru, they're poorly flushed, and they're also, the currents are a lot slower. And the bottom diagram just shows depth, and as you can imagine, that's kind of broadly related to speed, and that's because there were probably those are the bottom of valleys prior to the inundation of the sounds. So that water that's being forced through, it's quite a lot of water at any one second, 50 to 60,000 at spring tide. And by way of comparison, that's significantly faster than the out of Queen Charlotte and about double that of Tory Channel. So an interesting little way of understanding it is if you pulled the plug on the Pelorus and emptied it, it would take about 2 days to refill the 10.3 billion cubic metres of water. So there's a lot moving on each tide. In terms of the circulation patterns, well, there's an estuarine circulation. What we mean by that is Pelorus River, and here it is in flood in 2012, it drives the whole conveyor belt system in the sounds. At the entrance, we have that tidal movement coming in, but over the top of that is this fresh water that's consistently flowing at any time of year, and it's lighter and less saline, so it sits on top, and so things are continually in a state of movement in the sounds. And that leads to a process called stratification, and that's important when I come to talk to you about the model and also why we collect data at different depths in the sounds through our water quality program. So how fast does water move through the sounds? Well, in the model they release these virtual traces, and they release them at 2 different depths, in the surface at Waitada, Papori and Beatrix, and down below at those sites, and they just release them at the surface at Kenepuru and Mahitapawa. And as you'd expect near the head of the sound, or the entrance of the sound rather, it's quite quick in terms of the water turning over. But down in Kenepuru, it's around about 50 days, so it's pretty slow. The water doesn't really get replenished that often compared to when you've got the faster flows. And that's also important to our story, which I'll come to now, and that's about biological modelling. So here's where we collect our water samples. We've got a total of 11 sites throughout the Pelorus Sound, and every month we collect a whole range of data on physical and chemical properties, as well as we collect samples of phytoplankton. And that's been really important information. So as that shot earlier of Rosie showed, we drop a bottle down towards about a metre or 2 from the bottom, collect water there, and we also collect water from the surface using a hose. We collect another range of physical measurements using a CTD, and all that information is enabling us to build an understanding of the cycles and the sounds. So the model tried to reproduce these patterns. And this is a shot of nitrates. And you'll see there's a seasonal pattern. And the model reproduces that. And why there's a seasonal pattern is that in winter, when you don't have warm temperatures and there's not as much light, you get a, if you like, a replenishment or build-up of the nutrients. In summer, when you've got biological demand, what happens is it's drawn down to low levels. So the model picks that up, it reproduces that, which gives us a bit of confidence. The timing of it's slightly offset, but the relative changes are captured. So, as I said earlier, models are not precise reflections of reality, but there's enough there to give us confidence in the scenarios that we're going to run. So what's the scenario? Well, scenarios enable us to play around with the number of mussel farms and finfish farms and look at their effects on the water column. This shot here shows as of the 1st of January, the month of January 2012, all these blue polygons there, they were mussel farms that were in the water, covering around about 21 square kilometres. There were also some finfish farms in the water, Wahino and Forsyth Bay, as well as they modelled the effects of the two farms in Crail Bay, which have not been used for several years now. So in order to measure change, we instructed them to select the baseline of 2012 and then to measure what happens when you take away farms, what happens when you include the farms that weren't in the water but had been approved, including the 3 new King Salmon farms, and what happens when you switch off this process of seabed denitrification. I'm going to focus on the zooplankton, which is kind of the key response variable, and it's been one that's been of interest lately to a few people. Zooplankton, as you see from that wee diagram, they feed the base of the food chain. Small fish feed off them, other filter feeders feed off them. So what happens when you add these farms, these ones here, which were put in the water subsequent to 2012? Well, this diagram here is just a coloured way of showing differences. This is the scale here, which shows you that blue you have about a 4% change in concentration, and red a 4% addition. So it's kind of very small sort of variability. So we find that in places like Clover Bay, Crail Bay, we get a slight decrease in the number of abundance of zooplankton. In other places there's a slight increase, and that may be because the new fish farms are coming on stream and effectively fertilising some of the water. In summer, that effect's more pronounced, but again, the scale's not great. It's about 10% change, 20% change there. But again, we still get this depletion of zooplankton in certain areas, and reflecting the spatial and temporal variability in the sounds. What happens if we take farms away? So say we decided to remove all the farms in places like Kenepuru and Beatrix Bay and Clover Bay. Well, we'd probably see in winter time an increase about 10 times the amount of zooplankton, particularly in here at Kenepuru, and that's probably related to flushing time as well. That's why you're getting this effect. Nutrients are hanging around longer, they're not being taken up through the food chain by the mussels. In summertime, if we took away all the mussel farms, we'd have a lot more zooplankton in some of these more poorly flushed bays. So it allows you then to sort of start saying, what are the differences? What are the impacts of adding a few more farms, or if you took them away? So just to put that in kind of a different way of looking at it, every year 65,000 tonnes of mussels are taken out from the Marlborough region. And when I go to the supermarket, I'll probably get 8 to 10, I guess, per kilo. And if you did a bit of ballpark crude mathematics, well, that's about 8 to 10,000 mussels per tonne. And each year, that's around about between 500 and 650 million mussels, all of them chomping on things in the water column. So So they are having a bit of an effect. And about half of that comes from Pelorus Sound. And half of that again is from those 3 bays. So this is the power of the modelling tool. It allows us to say, well, what happens if we take away a quarter of those farms, or if everyone took off the line, or what have you. We can start getting at what are some of the carrying capacities or desired ecological conditions that we wish to see. I guess I've kind of just briefly scoped those, but so what's the ecological effects of all those hundreds of millions of mussels each year taking up the phytoplankton and the zooplankton? How does it affect other species? What's an acceptable level of farming? Well, currently we don't have a consensus, as those of you on the hearing panels would probably attest. And what effects would those natural mussel beds have had on zooplankton? And they can simulate those because they've divided the model into a series of vertical layers within the water column. So we can do a bit more testing of that to start getting a bit more of an insight into those questions. And the reason I raise this is that MPI, under our current contract, there's another $70,000 available to us that we have to make a decision by the end of the year if we wish to take that up. To do so, I think we need to be quite strategic with our questions. Right, just briefly, I'll talk about fish farming because that was one of the impetuses of this model. I'm going to show you chlorophyll here. I'm going to show you, this is in winter time, this is the approximate model variation in chlorophyll. 5 milligrams per cubic metre is the level that the Board of Inquiry said, look, you don't want to go above because you'll potentially start seeing algal blooms and discoloration of the water, and those were some of the concerns raised at that Environmental Protection Agency hearing. When we add those new fin fish farms, basically you're seeing in winter time about a 0.1 or 2% change, so very much within the range of natural variability, very hard to protect. And I've put the locations of the new farms here, and that includes a farm in Beatrix Bay that's going to be farming snapper, that's Naitahi Seafood Foods. And also, by error, they put a farm in Port Lagan, which had been subsequently turned down. So, in fact, this model is over-predicting what is the reality. We look at summer when the biology is in full production, we see that chlorophyll levels around about 3, which is, it's good, we're getting, the ecosystem's got a bit of life. And when we add those new finfish farms in, well, don't be misled by those colours because the change is sort of microscopic. That's what we're really interested in, is the scale. So the key message there is we're unlikely to see a shift towards eutrophication or trophic change from the introduction of these new finfish farms. Some may dispute that, but I think that the evidence in this model can give us some comfort that that won't happen. As insurance, we have our monthly water quality monitoring, and there are now water quality standards in the new King Salmon consents, so there are mechanisms in case our understanding is flawed from this model. Okay, and that briefly summarises that. And the other point that I want to make is that when you reflect back on that diagram that showed the chlorophyll levels in winter, well, they're quite low. So the wintertime temperatures and lower light act as a brake and reset the system. So in closing, what we're going to do next steps are, is, should you receive this model that we put on our website, I'll give this same talk to the Marine Farm Association next Friday at their AGM. It can be used as a basis for dialogue. And also, I would recommend that we did a bit more modelling to try and understand some of these patterns that are intriguing and giving us some cause for further investigation. And I just want to acknowledge the organisations and individuals who have been responsible for this. Without the support of the Ministry for Primary Industries, we wouldn't have been able to do it. It's been a significant investment by ratepayers as well, I may add. We've received excellent cooperation from the industry, and also many of our staff have played a part in collecting the information.
Thank you very much indeed, Steve.